Folks, normally when I do a Spirit Box session, very often what I do is I put up the Spirit Box session. At the end says, I don't know exactly what I got, I'll know on review, but I'll put it up anyway. But this time I want to show you some items in my house, because what happened was I done the Spirit Box session, I actually reviewed it. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to just show you a few items and listen out for some of the responses that came through this radio. Now, what I'm going to show you is this house is full of mirrors, and this particular case there's mirrors facing each other. It's also full of items and dolls with possible attachments to them. Both here we have a replica of the Annabelle doll up there. Out here we have a picture of the crying boy, which hasn't got a permanent place of home yet. We got a box. We have a supposedly haunted clown doll here. Again, more mirrors. We have a mirror here and we have a mirror right over here. More dolls. And this is a radio I got sent over from Italy, which is a model similar to one of the radios that Marcello Bacci uses in his ITC research. Underneath we have more dolls. Right, the reason why I showed you all that crap is because there's a couple of references to those things in this particular Spirit Box session. Now, the Spirit Box is not your stereotypical automatic scan Spirit Box. It is a wooden radio I got on eBay. And actually, watch out towards the end, after the Spirit Box session, there is a tiny little bit of spit, I'm embarrassed to say, that came out and went down, but a little while afterwards it seemed like a light anomaly. It could have been dust, but I'm questioning it because of the way that this little tiny object travels towards the speaker. So hope you enjoy the Spirit Box session. It's a little bit different than your stereotypical Spirit Box sessions where it's just automatically scanned. What I'm doing with this is I'm manually tuning the radio. I'm looking for a possible response, and if I get that possible response, I will home in around that frequency to see will I get an extension on that, rather than what sometimes I think it's just a theory that when we put on our scanning scanning radios or Spirit Boxes, and we get a response, the scan continues going and it passes that frequency. And I thought maybe if we homed in on that frequency where that response is, we might get more out of it. So it was a little bit of an experiment. I was actually surprised with some of the things that came up in the Spirit Box. There was some negative words as well. There was a demonic and devil came up on that as well. So that was pretty interesting. Some people discredit manual tune radios because a certain person uses a Tesco radio. A manual tune radio is the same as an automatic tune radio. The only thing is, with the manual tune radio, obviously you have to tune it yourself, and as well as that, you've got a little bit more control on the scan itself. It's a little bit more work, but it can come up with results. So, you know, some of these people that have come up with dodgy evidence, I wouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Certainly, if they fake evidence, their credibility goes out the window. But some people say that every single thing that they do then is fake, which is not 100% the case at times. So I blabbered on enough. I'm going to go and show you the spirit box session and that, and hope you enjoy it, folks. Before we start the spirit box session, I suggest you use headphones because very often we're not going to hear this in real time, so you need to concentrate by using your headphones. Disregard some of the radio. You're looking for responses to the questions. Some of the questions don't come out as clear as the radio does. The radio is drowning it out slightly, but one of the first names that's going to come up on this spirit box session is the word Amelia, which was a big surprise, because I have just been looking up research and playing some videos on Amelia the haunted doll. So it was very interesting that the word Amelia came up. The other thing about Amelia is just down the road from here, in a field, is where Amelia Earhart landed her plane. So there's two possibilities why Amelia has come up on the spirit box session. I personally think myself it has got to do with some of the videos that I played this morning on Amelia the haunted doll, and that word Amelia came out in into the audio, into the room itself. It was picked up by something, I don't know, and repeated back in the spirit box. Then again, I don't know, but everything is all theories and that. But put on your headphones, folks, and enjoy the session. Today, folks, I am going to do a little demonstration, a short little session on this little box here that I bought from eBay. It's it's not particularly a spirit box as such, but a lot of the older researchers and some of the researchers now use a manual tune radio, and I have a number of manual tune radios, and actually I find this one a very good radio if you want to experiment with manual tune spirit box sessions. And the beauty about this one is when you are scanning through the frequencies, the tuning knob goes through all those frequencies on half a turn. So it is very sensitive, which means you don't have to move the knob on the radio, the tuning knob on the radio, very much at all, to scan through your frequencies and channels. So we're going to go through a little demonstration on a spirit box session, and I'll go through the radio, and we'll finish it there. Is there anyone here that wishes to communicate with us? If you can communicate with us, can you say hello, please? Can you tell us what your name
Brilliant. Prices may even a further. Here. Come on.
Thompson. Can you tell me what my name is? Can you say your name to me? My name to me.
And Ron. Coming up.
Can you tell us why you're here, spirits?
Was a raid for money.
Is there any spirits in this house that is attached to an object in my house?
11 leaves. That's why some people have to
Is there a spirit attached to an object in this house?
and will the bill be in the tree. There's help.
Can you tell me if there is a spirit attached to an object in the house? What is that object?
Chicken's feet.
What?
JFN.
Come on. Which is what? Hello, any judge.
Is this radio easy for you to communicate through? Is it easy or hard? Is there an attachment to a door in this house? Is there a spiral attachment to the I'm going to say goodbye to Spurs. Right back to me, please.
On-demand TV.
There you have it, folks. I don't know if I picked up anything, but I am going to review the footage and see. But basically, it's just a little bit of an experiment. What I wanted to do was I wanted to find out by scanning the radio through the FM scan, where we do pick up voices and we also pick up response to our questions. Now they have to be responses in some cases because the fact that we get swear words and we get direct response to what we ask. Now what I started doing an awful lot more is asking the same question twice, and looking for a response on both of those questions, and I'm looking for the same response on both of those questions to try and reduce the possibility of a pure fluke. But what I wanted to do with this experiment is I wanted to use a manual. I wanted to find out if there was a possible response to home in on that frequency and see, is there radio, or is there a possibility that particular frequency will produce more responses. So, you know, today it was just a little demonstration. It was just a little show you, you know, some of the different things that some of our researchers do to try and improve on communication. You know, I certainly don't always use a frequencies with radio human voices on them. In fact, I use some of these shortwave bands, and some of these shortwave bands have nothing on them, only foreign stations. So I have been experimenting with those, looking for English responses with human voices of another different language. Also, I've been trying to look through more frequencies with no human voices in them at all, to see would I get responses. Researchers have been doing this for years, going through frequencies and trying to get communication through frequencies with no radio voices on them. So, you know, that is why I still experiment with manual tune radios. This particular radio it's a retro looking radio, but it's and it looks old and that, but a radio with a tuning knob like this is very good. Now this particular one, which I got for £20 on eBay, the thing about this one is very, very sensitive, and you can go through all the frequencies by just turning the knob half a turn, similar to the Tesco radio that I've used in previous videos, you know, where I put a handle on to make it easier for me to use. But on this one we have FM, AM, and 9 different shortwave bands. So there's a lot of stuff that I can experiment with this particular radio. And we got up here we got this turning on switch.
Or you can register, they'll send.
Yes, that.
This is the on and off switch and volume. You've got treble, you've got bass, and then you've got the tuning knob itself. Now down here you've got your FM, AM, and shortwave bands. Now the light is flashing here on the FM band to show this dial here where we have AM and FM. You turn over to the FM, AM. It kind of, there is a it turns on a different blue light. It does change, as you can see there. But when you go onto the shortwave bands, you've got 9 of them there, and this one goes off and this one goes on. So it's a nice little radio, made of pure wood. Inside it's got a little wooden frame to hold on the back here. It is very nicely kind of put together. It's not finished off absolutely perfect, but it is. I think it's a pretty interesting radio, and one I want to use an awful lot more to experiment with different frequencies and different ways of scanning through frequencies and see. You know, it's all about experimentation, folks. I'm going to leave it for now, folks, but I just wanted to show you this, and I'll see you in the next one, folks. Oh, before I go, this particular box is similar to the boxes, these particular radios are similar radios that and the Italian researcher Marcello Bacci used to use. Now his favourite one was a bigger version of this, but basically these type of radios were the ones that he used, and he possibly could have had one of these as one of his instruments for research. And this actually came from Italy itself, where Marcello Bacci is from. As you can see, some of the writing on this is all in Italian. Basically, I bought this because of the influence that Marcello Bacci's work was on me looking into this work. I'm not going to plug it in because I did plug it in before. I think the radio actually needs a bit of work, but this tiny wire and this tiny plug is the mains that's going into this radio, and I don't fancy 220 volts going through this old wire, which could have some cracks in it. So it does need a bit of work before I can actually use it. But even if I can't use it, it's a memorable piece for me, and it's just a statement and just a collector's piece of somebody that was an inspiration to me. So there we go. I'm going to go, folks, and I'll see you in the next one.